Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Algorithms and Flowchart Light Academia. In this series of videos, I will try to explain algorithm and flowchart easier and more understandable way. If you like the videos, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.
In today's example, we will have multiple inputs and multiple outputs by using multiple decision statements in the repetition statement. So let's read the question together. Write an algorithm and draw the flowchart that will ask the user to enter 10 integer numbers from the keyboard. The algorithm will find and print how many numbers are in the range of 5 and 23. As we can understand from the brackets, 5 is not included, 23 is included. The average of numbers which are divisible by 4. Not the total average, only the average of numbers which are divisible by 4. So according to this, which variable names can be used? So the question says enter 10 integer numbers. So because of that, we need to declare integer number. And in order to count how many numbers will be entered, we need to know the total entered numbers. So integer count, we will count how many numbers will be entered. Part A, how many numbers are in the range of 5 and 23? So simply we will count it, but in this time we are not going to count all the numbers. We need to use different variable name. We are going to count only the numbers which are in the range of 5 and 23. So that's why different variable names are used. The average of numbers which are divisible by 4. So that's why we need to count how many numbers are divisible by 4. So I am going to use count again, but it has to be different than the other two. So I am going to say that integer count divisible. All right, it will simply count how many numbers are divisible by 4. And it is not finished. We need to calculate the average. In order to calculate the average, we need to calculate the summation. But not all the summation, only the summation of the numbers which are divisible by 4. And at the end, we can simply calculate the float average. These are our variable names. So the variable names are simply chosen by the programmer. You can choose different variable names for the later programs or the algorithms. So let's start our algorithm with step number 0, and in the step number 1 we are going to declare our variable names in here. So I have integer number, integer count, it has to be initialized to 0 at the beginning, integer count range, again this one has to be initialized to 0, integer count division, all the numbers which are divisible by 4, so initial value is 0. I need to declare sum division, so in here I am writing sum division which is 0. I have float average, so I am simply writing in here float average in here. So if you want, you can change the name. Average is fine because there is no another average in here. But if you want the consistency, you can say that average division. Totally up to you. All right. So when we realize that we missed 1 or 2 variable names, we can add later. Step number 2, we ask the user to enter a number. What is the variable name for the number? Num. And then after we enter the number, we need to check that whether we enter 10 integer number or not. So that's why I need to count at each time whenever we enter a number. Count equals to count plus 1. This one simply counts how many numbers will be entered. After we finishing this, simply we can start by checking part A. How many numbers are in the range of 5 and 23? So we already entered the number in the step number 2, and I can simply continue. If the number, the entered number, is greater than 5, there is no equality because it says so. And at the same time, this is the end, and at the same time, number is less or equal to 23. Why we put equality? Because of the bracket. So if this is the case, I will increase the count range because I have selected this variable name for this one. Count range equals to count range plus 1. This one simply checks the numbers which are between 5 and 23, and if the numbers are in between this range, we are increasing the counter in this case. All right, this one is finished. Part A is finished in the step number 4. And part B, so I am saying that step number 5, the average of numbers which are divisible by 4. So in here, I need to write another if, another decision statement. This is the first decision, this is the second decision. If number is divisible by 4, which means that when we divide the number by 4 and if the remainder equals to 0, we can simply calculate the summation, and we need to check how many numbers are divisible by 4. So because of that, if number is divisible by 4, I simply say count division equals to count division plus 1. It counts how many numbers are divisible by 4. And I need to calculate the summation. Summation division equals to summation division plus your number. Okay. And after we finish this, we are ready to calculate the average. But as you know, average is calculated only for one time. After we enter 10 numbers, when we go out of the loop, we will simply divide sum division and count division. Sum division divided by count division will give you the average. So it is not going to be calculated for 10 times. It will be calculated only for once. That's why it is not the place to write the average calculation in here. I need to repeat all the steps for the 10 numbers. After we finish 10 numbers, we can perform calculating the average. So in here, in the step number 6, I am ready to check the counter, the general counter, whether we reach the 10 numbers or not. So in here, if the total count less than 10, and if it is true, if we want to enter more numbers, we simply go to the number entry phase. Where is the step? Step is in here. So if this is true, I can simply say that go to step number 2. If this is true. All right. If this is false, in the step number 7, what we have to do after we repeat 10 times, we are ready to calculate the average. So in here, the average division will be equal to sum division divided by count division. All right. So in here, what we have done, there is a loop in here. Which parts belong to the loop? Step number 2, we start the first number for the loop. And then we increase the counter in here, step number 3. And these are the simply if statements, the decision statements. But in here, there is a loop as well. So as you can see, the repetition statements are 2, 3, and 6. So there is a loop in here. So the repetition statement and the decision statements all together. But it is not finished yet because it says that find and print. We found it, but we haven't printed. So in the step number 8, I can say that print what? Print how many numbers are in the range of 5 and 23, which is the count range. All right. And it says that the average of numbers which are divisible by 4, which is the average division. And in the step number 9, I can simply finish the algorithm. So, what about the flowchart of this one? Let's start from here. Step number 0, we start. Step number 1, variable declaration, we have the rectangle. Step number 2, number entry, so simply trapezoidal. Step number 3, increasing the counter by 1, the general counter, again a rectangle. So in step number 4, we have if statement, so simply diamond shape is required in here. So if this is true, we will do something. What we are going to do, we will simply increase the count range by 1. If this is false, we have another diamond, number divided by 4. If it is true, again we will perform another thing in here. Count division, sum division. Alright, and we come here. This is the step number 5, step number 6. In the step number 6, we have again a decision statement. If count less than 4, and if this is true, we will go to the step number 2 in this time. Okay, we go to the step number 2. So I say that go to step number 2 if this is true. Okay, then if it is false, if we go out of the loop, in the step number 7, we simply perform the average calculation with a rectangle. In the step number 8, we simply printed what we have founded, so a parallelogram in here. And in the step number 9, we have the oval shape. So we simply put the connection arrows in here. Okay, and we define the loop in here. As you can see in this case, there is a loop which will be repeated for how many times? 10 times. Okay, in this example, what we have done, in this example, we have used multiple inputs, multiple outputs. We have used one repetition statements, and inside one repetition statement, we have used 2 decision statements. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you very much. See you in the other videos.